Hey y'all, this is Allison hanging out in my space to craft, and I'm still prepping for my upcoming trip to Uganda, so I thought I would make a couple more cards. I had loaned this stamp set to a friend, so I didn't have it for a while. So I thought, let's use a couple of these and make a couple cards. So I've gone into my scrap bin. I found these. I love purple. I like gold with purple. And then I found this sitting on my desk, which has some little flags. I think it's from a travel set, but I don't care. So I'm gonna make that work. I'll have to find some string when we get there. But I think we'll do sort of this way with a banner and then the sentiment down here. That's my plan for one, and then I'll see what I have left for the other one. That's kind of my plan. I have some card bases made up, so I'm just gonna do pretty simple, except that I will if I do a circle, for example, I'm going to do a circle out of this matte color and then the sentiment on white. But first step, all right, so I've sped up the rest of the video until the very end. You know, I had said I was going to ink these and I forgot, but it doesn't matter in the end. So what I'm doing for this one is cutting for a very small white border. So I'm just doing 1/8 of an inch smaller than the A2 card. And then a 1/4 inch smaller than that for the feature paper. We'll call it that. And then for this one, I'm doing a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch smaller so that each one is 1/8 of an inch. I went to go trim this and the paper was thin and was too close to the edge, so I had to use my guillotine, which is really better for really thin strips, honestly. So I have this lilac, and it's distress ink, so it doesn't always, and it depends on the paper as well, but it doesn't always print the cleanest. It's not like the Versa Fine Clair, but it's a nice color. It matches both of them, and I'm just going to print it a couple times to make sure I get pretty good coverage, and I like it. And if you've got colored inks, you may as well use some colored inks instead of doing everything in brown or black. So I have these nested shape dies, and the sentiments are squarish, so these are going to work. And I'm just looking to see what I have for the nesting to make the outside. And then for this one, I'm just going to do circles, so something a little simpler. I'm going to take those off and cut them and come back, and then we'll start assembling our cards. I did need to poke out some holes out of this. Worth it, because this set is, I don't use it enough, honestly, for sentiments. It's really pretty, and it's pretty high impact with those, because each size has a different element, a different cutout element on the edges. So it's pretty cute, but you need the right sort of squarish sentiment for it. So this one worked perfectly. So you can see I cut out of the middle of those papers. It's a great way to ensure that they match, especially when you're dealing with scraps and nobody's going to know. So here I'm just going to pull out some of these triangles, trying to get enough with contrast. And when I first start, I start to worry that I'm only going to fit 4, and you know that odd number rule. So I do overlap them just a little bit so that I can fit another one on there. And I like that. And then I decide because some of the colors are similar to the background, I decide to ink them. And they're not super, super sticky, but I'm going to pop them up anyway. And I realized that I had not inked, this is when I realized I had not inked the paper, but it's too late. It's too late for that. It's glued down very well. So I'm using some pretty thin, it's just 1 mil, I think, foam adhesive behind these. And I had my twine sitting out, so I grab a purple twine, which is perfect. So I'm going to lay them out first. Now when I lay this out, I think that white is just jarring, so I'm going to do something about it. Of course, it's glued down, but I can lift the very edges to ink the edges. It's still too jarring, so I pull out this antique linen and I'm just smushing it on there to, you know, dirty up, to age the sentiment, and it looks great. I tried to just press it and not smudge it so that I wouldn't smear the dye ink on there, and it just helps it fit right in. So I wanted that down first because I knew some of these pennants would hang over it. And I'm just trying to swoop them a little bit. And then I'm going to use the twine, and I usually put the twine under, but that's when things are spread out and you're going to get a glimpse of the twine between the pennants. So on this one, I'm going to just glue it on the top. So I tie a little knot so there's a place for it to start, and then I'm just going to lay the twine into a bead of glue there and tie another knot at the other end. The challenge is getting it to the right place and the right length. And I just lay it down, and thank goodness for fast drying glue, because that worked. And then I pull out some sequins to see if maybe I want to add sequins, and I decide I'm just going to add some. These are pop drops from scrapbook.com. They're like Nuvo drops. And I flick those on the back. Stuff is pretty thick, just to make sure that it settles a little bit. And I still had little points on the top of them. So, and now we're ready for our second card. So these two cards came together pretty fast. And I'm just using what I have left and seeing what might match this purple and gold striped paper. And I had this musical notes one, which I had wanted to use, and I really like it. So, and I'm going to put them to the side. And then we're going to pop up that sentiment. So these cards came together pretty fast, and I used what was sitting on my desk, honestly, and some dies that I hadn't used in a while, and my scrap bin. All right, I think we're done. Let's take a little close-up look. I feel comfortable throwing away those couple of last little stickers. Still flicking it a little to flatten those out. So there's one card. And we'll hold up the other card. Please give this video a thumbs up and come back for more.